In this session, we will learn about the cricoid cartilage. This is ring-shaped cartilage. This is cricoid cartilage. I have already told in the previous session that this cricoid cartilage is making one joint with the thyroid cartilage. This is the cricothyroid joint. Now, let us consider only this cricoid cartilage. Now, this cricoid cartilage has got two parts. One is anterior arch and second is posterior lamella. This is the posterior lamella up to this and the anterior arch. Rest of it is anterior arch. And what are the presenting parts? The presenting parts of this anterior arch, kiki, outer surface, inner surface, and superior border and inferior border. And what are the presenting parts of this lamella? Lamella has got one superior border, one inferior border, one anterior surface and one posterior surface. Now, let us describe one by one. First, let us start with this anterior arch. This is the superior border of the anterior arch. The superior border of the anterior arch actually a little bit thickened, and being thickened, it has got one outer lip and one inner lip. Now, what are the structures attached to this superior border of this anterior arch? From the inner lip of the superior border, one membrane will take its attachment, that is known as cricovocal membrane. The membrane attachment of the membrane will be like this, just like this, that is cricovocal membrane. And anteriorly, this cricovocal membrane is attached to the posterior of this, goes up to the posterior of this thyroid cartilage, and the upper thickened part, this one of this cricovocal membrane, is known as vocal cord. So, vocal cord, what is that? Vocal ligament. What is vocal ligament? The vocal ligament is nothing but the upper thickened part of the cricovocal membrane. And where the cricovocal membrane is attached? The cricovocal membrane is attached to the cricoid cartilage. Where? To the upper or the superior border, inner lip of the anterior arch of cricoid cartilage, right? And the position is like this. Clear? Next, this is the inner lip. And what the structures which is attached to the outer lip? To the outer lip, one important muscle will take its origin, that is known as cricoarytenoid, and being laterally placed on both sides, so the name is lateral cricoarytenoid. So, the lateral cricoarytenoid attachment will be from here to here. Look it very carefully about the direction of muscle fibers, cricoarytenoid on both sides, here also. Next, outer surface or the anterior surface of the arch. The outer surface or the anterior surface of this arch gives attachment of one muscle, that is cricothyroid muscle. I have already described it in the part of description of thyroid cartilage. And posteriorly, there will be attachment of another muscle, that is the cricopharyngeal part of the inferior constrictor. The inferior constrictor of the pharynx, it has got two parts. One is thyropharyngeus, another one is cricopharyngeus. If we consider it like this, then the thyropharyngeus part, this is the green one, this will go backward from here This is the position, and cricopharyngeus will take origin from this part of the cricoid cartilage, and both of this together will form the inferior constrictor of pharynx. Next, inner surface free, covered by mucous membrane. Next, come to the lamella. The lamella has got one superior border, inferior border, anterior surface, posterior surface. The superior border we can see here, there is shouldering, that is sloping like this. Why? For this two arytenoid cartilage on both the sides. One will be placed here, another one will be placed the opposite side like this, and this two will make one synovial joint here, that is cricoarytenoid joint. And inferior border, so this is the inferior margin, and the inferior border, this level is the inferior margin of the larynx, and the larynx will continue as trachea. So here there will be presence of first tracheal ring. The posterior, from the posterior lamella, inferior border, the trachealis muscle will take its origin. And what about the surfaces? The anterior surface of the lamella of the cricoid is completely free, and this is covered by the mucous membrane. But what about the posterior one? On the posterior surface, at the midline like this, there will be attachment of tendon of esophagus. You have come across it in detail during your class of esophagus. So that tendon of esophagus, which is formed by the longitudinal muscle fasciculi of esophagus, that will give its attachment here, and on both sides, this two, there will be attachment of another muscle which will take one attachment here, another attachment to this arytenoid cartilage, and this is present on the posterior aspect of larynx. So the name of this muscle will be posterior cricoarytenoid. So this is posterior cricoarytenoid, and if we consider the posterior cricoarytenoid, the muscle will have, just a minute, yes, some upper fibers will go like this, and the lower fibers will go like this. So the upper fibers of this posterior cricoarytenoid is horizontal, and the lower fibers are little bit vertical. Note it very carefully, because during the movement of larynx, this will help you a lot. So cricoid cartilage, ring shaped, anterior arch, posterior lamella, anterior arch. Other than anything else, one muscle you have to keep in mind for detail of the movement, that is the lateral cricoarytenoid. The fibers directions are like this, and during lamella, other than any other attachment, you have to keep in mind one thing in very detail, that is the posterior cricoarytenoid. So this is all about your cricoid cartilage. In our next session, we will come detail of the arytenoid cartilage.